afternoon, everyone. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying the conference, and hopefully you're learning a ton. My name is Martin, and I'm with Yardi. And as Tim pointed out, been with Yardi quite a bit. This is my 16th year, and when I started, it was a small company, 200 employees, small in quotes. And I remember my first thought with the company was, did I just make a mistake? I was going from this well-established company who was doing quite well into this new company. I was based in Toronto, Canada at that point, and I was employee number 4 there. And I'm sitting at my desk learning the software and thinking, oh, damn, I just made a mistake, right? Are they going to make it, right? And today, 16 years later, we are a 5,000 employee company, privately held, businesses around the country, around the world, actually. I'm going to talk about some cloud services stuff, and we have 10 or 12 data centers around the world. And so still here, enjoying myself, and really appreciate the company that I work for. What I'm going to talk about today is a few things. Coming from a software company, so I'm going to spend some time on talking about integration between the software and business automation or building automations, right? You can have different BAS system, building automation systems in your building, and inserting a software as another layer of control can bring some savings and benefits to your buildings. And we're really going to talk about your energy cost consumptions. We're going to talk about different technologies that are up there available, and I'm going to walk you through some case studies that we've done with several of our customers, and available for any questions. So let me start with the first case study. This is a building out of Los Angeles, Constellation Place, about 800,000 square feet. It's been certified as a gold building, running quite efficiently. They received their BOMA 360 performance designation. And it was probably in 2013 when we installed something called Lobos, load balancing optimization systems. I'm going to use that word quite frequently. Lobos, load balancing optimization systems. And it's a software that sits on top of your business building automation systems and sends triggers and monitoring tools every 60 seconds to make sure your HVAC, your chillers, your airflow is running effectively. Very efficient, very well works for large commercial buildings and help your building to be more efficient. In this case, as you can see, the RAF savings were about $150,000 annually. But I think what was amazing is the number of complaints that the management company got prior to installing Lobos to after, huge difference, almost no complaints from tenants. So we were able to introduce this new platform, introduce savings, and actually increase the comfort level of the residents, our tenants in that building. Another case study that I want to share with you is going from commercial market space into a multifamily market space. This is a residential client, owner. They own about 260 buildings on the East Coast. And until recently, they've been managing their utility bills in-house. And they were very proud of the fact that they're managing their bills in-house and they can do it very effectively. Well, not until recently when they hired us to take over those bills. And the reason for hiring us was a very large number of late bills and late fees, 6 digits. And so what we've done, we just redirect our bills to our processing centers, start typical utility expense management service, which is processing your bills, auditing your bills, and delivering data into your GL system for payment. What that did to the client is offload that utility work from their shoulders, because in the past, their property managers were appointed to take care of their bills. And since we took over, we can see a major decrease in late fees. And when I talked to the CFO just a couple of weeks ago, I asked her, so what's your assessment on your late fees today? Give me a ballpark. She said, and excuse my French, I don't give a shit. Because it's such a minimal number that I'm not spending any time on this. right? So a great success story where just utilizing professionals and experts in the real estate market help you to gain efficiencies and savings. And the big part of it was, what she shared with me was, now my property managers have more time to spend with their tenants and residents and buildings and make sure the building stays occupied. So what do we mean by energy efficiencies, right? There's really three things. We're talking about reducing operating costs, which what we heard earlier today from Steve from Delta, it could be the second largest operating expense on your P&L, reducing consumptions and emissions. And while we're doing all of that, we want to make sure the tenants are staying comfortable in their space, which is very important. As I mentioned earlier, and I think we've heard it multiple times today, utility cost is third largest expense. The good news is it's the largest controllable expense, right? And depending on what tools and services you put in place, you can drive that cost down. Let me share with you some of the energy data in the commercial market space in the US. I don't know if you guys knew, but the total number of commercial square footage in the United States represents about 15 billion square feet. And it's usually categorized into retail, office, and industrial space. The average cost of utility of electricity in retail or commercial space, any commercial space, is somewhere between $2 to $3 per square foot per year annually. And we've seen buildings who are running at below $2, $1.75, $1.85, but we also have seen buildings that are running over $3, close to $4 per square foot. And it depends what line of business they have in their buildings. If you have data centers, it's usually more expensive than other businesses. But that number converts into spendings of about $30 to $45 billion annually on energy. Right, it's a quite number. And if you all take our share and we look at potential tools and services that are out there, and we can drive the cost down by 20% on an annual basis, just looking at the ballpark numbers, we can save between $6 to $9 billion annually. And we're not talking about consumption and how good we do to our environment. So how do we do it? What do we need to do? Three things. We got to learn, we have to measure, and then we have to manage and retain that level of where we are. What does it mean, learning? Learning is really understanding your data, being able to have visual access to your data and understand your energy data. There's still many companies who don't know much about energy. And they just don't have the visibility to make the right decisions and implement the right tools to drive the cost or consumption down. One of the things how you can do it is utilizing something called utility expense management. Like I mentioned in my case study, hire a company professionals who can do this for you by receiving bills on time, monitoring your bills, processing your bills, auditing your bills, and delivering your data to you in a format of platforms, report dashboards, or just actionable items. So that's one way how you can gain access and visibility and learn. Some other companies will take it to the next level when they're just not going to give you a whole bunch of data. They will provide you with some recommendations and work with you on projects to whatever the challenges or issues we find by looking at the data, we'll be able to address. The second thing is measure. Right? Once you learn your data, you know what the trouble points are, you start measuring your data. And what we've seen in the marketplace, many companies are moving into Energy Star compliance and submitting their data to Energy Star. And as you can see, there's some success story over the last 20 plus years. Many companies were moving in that direction, are moving into direct direction, becoming Energy Star certified, and that benchmarking tool offers quite a bit of savings. So if you look at this graph, you can see over the period of time, number of energy savings, greenhouse gas emission savings, and the trending in the right way. I also personally like the fact that the regulations are moving in directions where they're mandating Energy Star submission for now many municipalities and states on the real estate market, whether it's commercial or residential. So once you learn about your data, you understand your data, you can effectively measure your data, now you can start managing your data, right? And managing is where you take action items and you really see some results. So there's three main components to manage your data. One is data, information, accessibility. You have to be able to access your data, you have to be able to see your data, because if you cannot see something, you cannot manage. Right? So having a full transparency and accessibility to your data. The second thing is active optimization. So this is what I said earlier, Lobos, load balancing optimization tools or systems, where you have your building automation system already in place, and now you put a piece of software on top of that that will do something for you that your energy managers could do, which is every 60 seconds looking at the screen and adjusting your trigger points based on how your HVACs are behaving, but that's boring, right? I don't think you would have those people on staff for too long. They would get bored. So implement a software that every 60 seconds will go in and adjust your trigger points where it's necessary to maintain that comfort level of your tenants. Let's say it's 72 degrees in this building, but how we get there is how we measure and manage the HVAC unit, how it's performing on the building. So active optimization by putting software to work. And internet controls, smartphones, accessibility, and being able to proactively respond to any actions that are necessary. There's a graph that's presenting some different scenarios. The first scenario is showing a typical building. Buildings that were designed some time ago, they don't really have any building automation systems in place. Their HVAC is probably running 100, 110% all the time, most of the time. And there's no really controls in place to make that building to run efficiently. The second section in the middle is a section where we put some building automation systems in place, and the building is running somewhat efficiently, and you can gain maybe 10, 15% efficiencies. The third section is where you actually put some type of a load balancing system in place on top of your building automation system, and you put additional intelligence to your buildings to drive that energy down. Again, by constantly checking and make sure your HVAC, the airflow is running, the heat pumps are running fine, and the air circulation is running the way how it should be running to maintain the comfort in your buildings. And you cannot do it by looking at the screen in the morning and in the evening, and maybe you get some alerts on your cell phone, and then you attend to the issue, but let software do it for you. Here's a good case study that we've done for another building in Chicago. Large building, 1.5 million square feet, high-rise, platinum certified. I remember walking into that building and looking around and say, what are we doing here? I don't think there's much efficient, I don't think there's a room for us to make this building more efficient as it is today. And we went ahead and we installed the load balancing and optimization software, Lobos Energy Efficiency, in 2014. And within a year, we start recognizing, or the company started recognizing savings of about $285,000. And the interesting point is that the payback for the initial investment to put the software and hardware in place, the initial investment was paid back in 1.2 years. So this was done in 2014. So now clients got their hardware and software paid for, and they're just benefiting from their savings. So it's quite impressive to see these projects where you would think the payback time would be 3, 5, maybe 10 years, but we're seeing an average payback time within a year, sometimes less than a year, right? And all we're doing is putting an intelligence into the building, which is a piece of software that can effectively measure and work with your building automation tools to make your building even more efficient. The one thing that I haven't mentioned yet, and this was the case with this building, this Lobos energy efficiency software was not able just to recognize the electricity savings, but also the property owner or property manager in that case, was able to identify potential issues. As soon as we see pieces of units not working properly, don't forget, every 60 seconds, we're making sure everything is running the way how it should be running. As soon as we see something that it's not meeting our standards, the client gets notified, and they can attend to those issues much faster, even before this becomes a major issue, a major capital investment to fix the unit. So there was some savings also on the maintenance cost overall. So what are we trying to solve today? 5 things. Everyone is trying to drive their energy down, cost, right? So it impacts their bottom line, putting different systems in place. While you're doing that, you always want to make sure your tenants, coworkers in your buildings don't feel those changes. They feel comfortable. So we want to make those energy projects efficient, but also keep the comfort level of your tenants consistent. Reliability is one of the components where you're looking for a solution for your providers. You want to make sure they are good providers, and they stand behind their product, they stand behind their customers, and they're here long term. Compliance is one of the things. If you work with the right vendor, they'll help you. They assist you. They provide their opinion on different regulations in your jurisdiction. So before you get involved with any projects, you reach out to your provider and make sure they drive you or guide you through your process to make sure you stay in compliance. And while you're doing all those things, if you do them right, generally you drive your maintenance costs down. And nice thing is about this is you increasing your value of your asset. Just a quick, I think I heard that many times today as well, is when you're looking at a hardware company, or when you're looking to purchase a hardware, you're making an investment, just a recommendation that you work with companies who are non-proprietary and they offer open concept. So you can easily integrate with other companies, you can easily access the data, and you can make the right decisions. Same theory applies to your service providers. In a prior presentation, there was a slide about cloud computing and cloud services. Couldn't agree more. You want to work with a vendor who provides services through cloud. It's usually subscription-based. You've been charged monthly, quarterly, or annually. But the whole relationship, updates, integration is so much easier than working with non-cloud-based companies these days. Green buildings. Takes lots of work, time, investment, and expertise to make your building green. Well, once you make your building green, there are some rewards. And generally what we see is your rent, you can easily increase your rent by up to 5%. And a nice thing is we see many companies, when they're looking for their office space, one of the top 3 criteria is we want to be in a green building, in platinum or gold certified buildings. And that drives occupancy by about 2% on average. Right? Once your building is green, you also see some energy savings. And we're using 15% as an estimate, but we've seen energy savings 30%, and we see energy savings 10%. So 15 is a good number. And also, as I mentioned earlier, if you're proactive and you're running your buildings effectively, you have software in place to check on different things, generally you drive the maintenance costs down. So we're seeing your net income per square foot on a commercial building could be as much as $3, $3.15. And overall property value can increase up to $40 if you are creating a building environment and having green buildings in place. In closing, let me mention a few things about who we are and what we do. As I mentioned earlier, Yardi Systems is a software-based company, over 5,000 employees. Primary focus of the Yardi Systems is real estate. We provide software solutions to real estate companies, residential, commercial. And about 7 years ago, we started to get more engaged in energy. I think we realized, just like the rest of the world, that energy is becoming a niche market, and everyone talks about energy, and we have so many clients utilizing our property management system. So we got engaged and involved with several of our customers, and now we have a division called Yardi Energy, about 700 employees, and focusing on multifamily, commercial, and corporate companies in the United States and Canada. And these are our 4 main segments where our focus is right now. Data source, energy procurement, optimizing buildings through energy efficiencies, demand response, fault detection and diagnostics through Lobos, load balancing optimization system, managing data through utility expense management, providing sub-metering services, and tenant billing, helping clients with their budgeting efforts. And on the reporting side, there are benchmarking, reporting dashboards, and many, many reporting options for our customers. And in a summary, these are all the services. We talk about utility expense management, Lobos, energy efficiencies, portfolio thermostats and HVAC. That's a new service that we're offering to small to mid-sized clients. Sprint, tele provider, across the country is using that service and thermostat. Power shopping, which is energy procurement, utility billing, sub-metering, analytical and sustainability reporting, and different other different energy services. Thank you. Thanks, guys.